Yeah.
Love that singing on there. She's got amazing voice, huh? So, but yeah, well, no, it's all y'all wooks rubbing off on me.
Goes to infrasound once.
Yeah, right.
God.
It's truly inspiring, though,
You
isn't
can
it?
take the look at infrasound, but
Yeah. I'm still up in the trees. Right. But yeah, it was a real honor chatting with you, and I'll be here introducing people in between the workshop. But I guess, Mike, if you're feeling really ready for all this.
Frisky enough?
Do you have a lav on, a microphone?
Check.
Cool.
Check.
Yeah, perfect.
Is it working?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's some.
The crew will take care of it.
Pull the mic up. I'll just talk and. Oh. Like thinking levels. Like, yeah, pull the levels up, dude. All right, how's that? Oh, that sounds better. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
My name is Mike Rat. I've been teaching here since, I guess, 2014. I've known JP since 2012 when I went to school that should not be named. And I, too, felt like I wanted to just make my own music and not record rock bands in a studio for the rest of my life using Pro Tools. So JP was like, hey, I just opened this place. It's in an art gallery, which admittedly was kind of distracting as you would just make music and then look at really gorgeous art all the time. And then I just started teaching and low-key fell in love with teaching more than anything else. I love playing music, I like making music, but there's something sacred about delivering knowledge. Now I'm gonna pull this down, I think a little bit. And I really enjoy the connection that I get with everyone that comes through Slam. It's really special. We have a community here which doesn't feel like a normal school. We like to call it a dojo or a place of practice. And so today, JP kind of gave me the best intro ever because I was kind of back and forth on do I want to do the conventional helpful lesson that will be I learned, or do I want to wax meta and get goopy? And I think we're gonna get goopy.
Yay!
So a couple of years ago, there's kind of two things that I've learned in the past couple of years, and the first was just this saying from Ill Gates, if anyone's familiar with that artist. Amazing guy, first of all. Every Canadian producer you meet is just gonna be the nicest. And it was the number one thing that separates people who are producing in their bedroom versus producing and playing shows is output. And that's a tough thing to tackle because all of us want our art to be perfect and great and as good as we can make it. But that inevitably leads people to just turn knobs for way too long, right? You don't want to be caught in this oh, I've just been working on this synthesizer for 10 hours and I don't know if it's good or bad anymore because your brain is fried about it, right? So after hearing output, I was like, well, maybe you should focus a little bit more on, putting tracks out. And inevitably, when you see people that you maybe are some homies and you're like, wow, they're really on the up and up. What are they doing? They're putting tunes out, right? Set a personal record for yourself or a goal. Mine is 4 tracks a year, an EP a year. It's a great rate. It's a little bit faster than most people produce, but it puts people on the map as long as you can always hand someone something that's this is my new shit, right? That's gonna get you booked. Now, the problem with that is if you're so worried about putting tracks out, then you stop worrying about turning the knobs. So where's the middle ground, right? In comes my other very favorite producer and one of the nicest guys I've also ever met, Seppa. I had the pleasure of taking a class from him and a couple of other halftime producers over COVID, because let's be real, none of us were doing fucking shit. And he introduced me to this idea of just randomization and letting go of control over your own sounds with some techniques that kind of just make it easy for you to hit a button and get cool noise and not worry about whether or not you're controlling the knobs. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. And before I get started, I wanna get a nice little Atom kit. If you're my student, you already know this is my favorite preset drum kit on the planet. I'm just gonna lock in a little groove here just so I can groove on something. It's not gonna be super fancy. Find a nice little, I like that tambourine. That's cool. We'll just duplicate that across, just so I can have a little bit of a beat to work on. And this is just a little side note. I think if you're gonna produce, you should start with a little bit of a beat, because if you're kind of like creating without context, it can get a little bit weird, like when do you come back down? So I always like to give myself just a little drum beat, just a kick on the 1, a snare on the 2 and the 4, and maybe we'll duplicate this out, and I'll move this kick and duplicate it again, and give myself a kick or 2 at the end. Hopefully that sounds neat. I don't know, could be horrible, we'll find out. All right, so let's just get going. I have an operator and a wavetable, and maybe I'll grab a couple of other synthesizers, but really this is a very simple technique, and it's just designed to let you have cool sounds like that, right? We're reducing the time it takes for you to get the noises that you think are dope, right? I see a lot of, like my students will just like struggle, and they'll be like, why don't my sounds sound like all the producers that have spent 20 years doing this? I'm like, well, first of all, time is a factor, but also like, don't get in your head about the MIDI notes, right? Get more in your head about the effects, because let's be real, that's where all the good stuff is. So I'm gonna start with the wavetable. Pretty simple, not too spicy. And if you're unfamiliar with the wavetable, 1, familiarize yourself. It's great. And 2, we're gonna keep it pretty simple on what I like to call the front end. And this is just like my reflections on what has been happening in the bass music scene over the past couple, I would say maybe like 5 years. I've noticed that people aren't worried as much about doing all this shit and getting crazy goopy with your filters and stuff. And there is a time and place for that, but if you're trying to emulate some of the cool synths you're seeing, a lot of people are stacking distortion. And so we're gonna start there. We'll get weird and goopy with some synths later, but we're gonna start with a more conventional synthesizer that I think is pretty neat. And I'm just gonna start with cranking my amplifier envelope to just fully sustained and turning this filter off. We'll start there. And all I'm gonna worry about is this little knob. Right? It's a wavetable. So if you're unfamiliar with wavetable synthesis in general, it just means there's a bunch of shapes and you can flip between them. And look at this. I'm just gonna stick with basic shapes. No worries. Right? We can go from a sine all the way up to a square and pass a little saw wave on the way and say hi. And I'm gonna hit Command G to group this, because in the end, this technique is all about the macros. And if you're not using macros, then you're missing out. So I'm just gonna grab this wavetable and map this to macro 1. And now I can control my wavetable over here. The second thing I really like, the second and the third thing of wavetable that I truly love are these options down here, the warp and the fold, which kind of mess with the way the shape looks and feels, right? We're just like messing with the oscillator. Right? It's not FM. We're not like generating noise and then running another noise into that one.
Like my whole workshop didn't even
we can still mess with the wavetable in general. Maybe just rip that mic. Just grab it like the wife you are. Okay. All right, so we're gonna grab the warp and the fold. And you'll notice with this technique, what I'm doing is I'm just picking up things that I like to move. And this is baseline so simple, because all you need for this technique is just your ears, right? Are you a human being that can press a button and then tell me whether you like the sound when it changes? Then this technique is fucking for you, right? Because now I've found 3 different things that I like. I like the timbre change. When this happens, right here, I like this. Okay, cool, I like it. I don't need to know what it's doing. I like this. I don't need to know what that's doing, and I like this. Right? I'm just using my ears here. Not too hard to figure out. Now we're gonna crack into some effects and see if we can find some stuff that add to the quality, and hopefully find some knobs along the way to pick up and mess with. So the first thing I usually grab is a phaser. This is really great for colorization and can add some notches along the way. So just listening to the phaser, just as is. Right, we hear a little bit of movement. And movement is one of those things that people just sleep on in their early steps of production, right? If you're gonna be using a synthesizer for 3 minutes, that thing better not stay stagnant, right? It should move the whole time. Ideally, in like a perfect world, No 1 second is gonna be the same in your music as another second, right? It's easy for us to start and we're like a little loop based and that's cool. We're getting to like learn a program, right? But as you go on, your end game should be like, wow, there's no 2 seconds in here that are the same, right? So by finding things that add movement in a synthesizer, even holding one synthesizer, I mean, when JP was like rocking this bad boy, I don't feel like it was super similar the whole time unless he just like let it on its own, right? That's the goal. You want your synthesizer to have a full-on path, like a life journey from birth to death, right? So Phaser is great for that. I'm just gonna play around with a couple of things in here. Blends. And kind of change where those notches are. That's always a fun one. A little bit of feedback, never hurt nobody, but I'm just gonna kind of move these up and sort of set them down. Rate is also a fun one, but you gotta be careful with this one because if it gets a little bit too fast, it can make your sound real weird. But luckily, oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. What's bass music? Right? But if I move up the frequency of this phaser a little bit too much, we start to stray from God. So, so that's where the macros step 1 comes in, right? We really want to utilize the map mode, right? So this is just going to give us a little extra control over where our sounds can go. Because if I just map 16 things in the group and say, go for it, there's gonna be 1 or 2 knobs that are a little bit too much, right? So if I get to my map mode and tone it down, say like, hey, you can't go above, I don't know, 3 hertz. I kind of like slower phasers. Then it's gonna be okay because I can crank this mod all the way up. That's not too bad, right? That's at maximum, right? So we're really gonna rely on grabbing our map mode to make sure that nothing happens that we don't want to happen. And maybe spread could be a cool one. We already have blend. I'm just gonna leave it on blend because we got a lot to add on this macro chain. Next, I'm just gonna grab a saturator. Now, if you use saturators a lot, like me, sometimes you'll just like pop it on something, give it a little drive and be like, cool, it's like warmer and louder, right? But the real heads know that it's all about this wave shaper mode. And this is something that I love to mess with. And JP's already like, dude, chill out, man. So I'm just gonna grab some of these things. Actually, we're gonna leave damp alone because I'm not. See, period right there is one of those things that we can't have go all the way to 100 because it's just gonna make our sound go very ridiculous. But I am gonna map pretty much all of these. Let's do 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. I got a little feedback somewhere. It's probably because I'm sitting in front of a large subwoofer. So again, with that period, we wanna come over to the map mode and we're gonna pull that down maybe about 30%. And hopefully these are they're pretty okay for now. I can just test them out. Don't forget, if you're assigning macros and you're like, where are they? You have this plus button, right? You can get up to 16 in here, and it's okay. So, that's sounding okay. Well, that's a little intense, so let's maybe turn that wave shaper depth down as well. And if I were real smart, I would maybe color these, because if you color these things within any macro, then when you come back to the map mode, they show up. And it's a little bit easier on the eyes, and that's, again, just a little workflow technique. Make your life easier, and, well, that's just, you can figure out why. All right, so now we've got a little saturator. I'm just gonna pop soft clip on. That's cool, neat. All right, now let's go for a little bit more. I'm a big fan of chorus and amplifier when they're back to back, just for the hell of it. Amplifier, if you're not aware, is kind of more of a top-end distortion module in Ableton. Saturator is really great for warmth and kind of like hugging your sound and giving you a little bit of boost in the low end. Amplifier is the opposite side of that. You're gonna really get some harsh frequencies, and if you've been to a festival one time, you know, like controlling that top-end fuzz is like really clutch for making people move to like nasty bass music, right? I'm gonna turn this chorus off real quick. I'll pop my amplifier into dual. I'm just gonna turn the dry wet down and move it up. and it gets pretty angry pretty quick, so I'm just gonna kind of set that and forget it. We'll turn the chorus on now to kind of blunt that noise, right? When your noise is kind of going in one direction, you can let it go in that direction for a long time, but if it gets too far away in that, you might have to find a different effect to kind of push it back towards the center. And this is really what I like to do with an amplifier chorus combo, where the amplifier gets it pretty angry, the chorus will tone it down, right? Sort of like a yin and yang practice. It kind of spreads it out a little bit too to make it a little bit more stereo sufficient. So this is looking pretty good, but there's one thing we're missing here, and JP touched on this plenty. And I actually like to add this kind of at the end, not of the chain, but at the end of me making a sound. But it's a little filtration. And I'm going to say this, but JP is the one that coined the term. If you are trying to create a noise on a computer that feels like it has expression or it feels vocal, the thing you need more than anything else is a filter, right? If I'm speaking, my diaphragm is like the amplifier. It gives me all the power, and my lungs, right? I'm pushing the air out. My vocal cords is like kind of the pitch, or like what is the tone of my words. But it's my mouth that's like the filter, right? This is what's making my words, right? If I didn't have like a head and it was all just like coming out at the neck and like a little blood squirting out, it's just like, ah, right? It's not, you need the mouth, you need something to form it into speak. And so when you're at a show or something and you hear like, I'm pretty sure all of us have heard a wub that is like, why did that sound like it was speaking to me, right? It's because whoever made that wub was really in control of their filter. So I'm gonna grab an auto filter, which I'm sure we've all seen plenty of times at this point, and I'm gonna put it early on. Where you put this sucker is up to you, but I'm a big fan of putting it really early in the chain. And now a low pass is always good, right? But I'm also a huge fan of, again, randomization. So we're actually gonna put this in morph mode. This is probably my favorite knob to turn. I don't know, there's too many to count. But if we put this over here, now I can kind of control what the filter is doing, right? If I grab a couple other things like the frequency, the amount of the LFO, the rate, and God forbid the phase, we're gonna leave resonance off because I don't wanna hurt anyone's eardrums. Maybe we can pop this in OSR mode. Now, if I move all these things, we're gonna have a good time, but oh wait, shit, I forgot. I'm a human and I actually only have 2 arms because the like 4-arm cybernetic enhancements are not slated for 2045. So this is when we lean into a little thing, and I apologize to the couple of students in my room that have seen me use this hundreds of times. We're gonna use a thing called the device randomizer. And this is an amazing piece of Max for Live technology, which just takes every single knob in a single device and it moves them randomly. And you don't have to touch them, right? This is where the technique all kind of comes together. The kicker is, if you target something like the auto filter or phaser flanger, the saturator with the device randomizer, it moves all of the knobs in there, and you don't get to control what it's moving. It's just like, yes, I will move the whole biscuit, right? We don't want that. But luckily, I've assigned all of these macros, 15 macros, right? And if I just target this thing, it just knows, hey, all of these knobs that I want moved, it will just move those. Let's go ahead and hit map and just target this instrument rack. And now, whoa, shit. Look, everything gets a piece, right? Except for the amp and the chorus, which are kind of just hanging out. So now, one finger. I'm not doing shit. Right? So if I like bring up my drums here. There we go. A little quick. And it's going to be different every time. The statistical probability that this is going to sound the same is like, it's just no, it's not going to. It's always going to be different every single time. So now I've like won the battle, right? That took me like a couple of minutes, and now I have a synthesizer that's just always moving. It's never going to be the same. And so even if I want to be loop-based and just rock this clip forever, cool. Like the whole song's now different. Now if we add a couple of synthesizers, oh boy, we have a full song. So let's hop into a different use of this particular technique and make a little bit of texture. Has anyone heard of Tipper? Probably one or two of you, I would hope. So this is kind of based on sort of what he does, and then I'm going to take it a little bit further and add some juicy delay. So Tipper, I feel like, pioneered this kind of like squelchy texture sound that you just hear at every infrasound and every Sonoda and pretty much across the world now. And it's an interesting technique because it kind of starts with a very slow waveform. In fact, have you ever like listened to a saw wave? Ever just like listened to a saw wave, man? Oh, I got a little filter on, let's turn that off. Right? It's buzzy, right? A saw wave has all the buzz. It has the most buzz because a saw wave by default is the sharpest angle. You don't get to see this little buddy, but it's a sharp angle. It's 45 degrees, right? And so you can kind of hear all those little buzzes are individual clicks of the waveform. What happens if we just slow it down a lot, right? I'm gonna go into fixed mode over here, and I'm gonna pull my frequency down. You know, I could set it to like 88 or like find an F or whatever, but it's actually not really gonna matter in the end because we're just making texture and a lot of textural noises. Don't worry about tone, they're just gonna be noise, right? So, it's the low end. Now I'm gonna take this multi and set it to 0.1. So we're slowing this down by 10. This is now 8 hertz, 8.8. And now we can hear every little click, right? Neat, that's pretty cool. I mean, not really usable, Mike. Why are you doing this? Get out of my classroom. Just kidding. All right, so now, here's where it starts to get a little fun. The pitch envelope in Operator can be used to like control and move this up and down. And at such slow frequencies, you can really hear what happens in a sine wave, or sorry, a saw wave, right? Because pitch is nothing more than like waves being either closer together and farther apart. And when it's this slow, you can really perceive the difference in pitch with how close these little clicks are. So now, using that technique that I just showed everyone that everyone's gonna memorize for the rest of their life, you could be like, hey, what if we just mapped the wiggle of this envelope? I don't know, maybe the attack, decay. We don't have to worry about the release that much. The initial and the peak, and maybe even the sustain. Wow, that actually killed it. We'll remember that for next time. All right, so I'm gonna grab the device randomizer, and just on, oh, you know what? Let's even grab the pitch envelope itself, because one thing that's great about the envelope is that it can actually go backwards in time, which is just to reverse the entire envelope. So I'm just giving myself a little bit more of randomization, right? And now if I hit map on this sucker and move these things around, okay, so I can kind of speed and slow down the clicks a little bit, which is pretty cool. That's like kind of step one. But remember what I said about filters? We want to make this squelch a little bit, right? This is really where it all comes together. And this is the most important part of this technique, again, is a filter. And again, I'm gonna set this in morph mode. You could probably just do a bandpass and get away with it if you wanted it to be a little bit more consistent. But I don't like consistency, I like chaos. So we're gonna, again, morph, LFO amount, we'll grab the rate because we want this thing to move around, and the phase to give it like a little bit of stereo imaging, and maybe even the frequency because we're deviants. And now, I'm just holding this button. The only problem with this one is this is not a noise that I want to have any sub bass, right? I'm gonna like layer this on top of any sub, right? So again, we have to come back to that map and say, hey, let's like just never have the frequency drop below, I don't know, 500. Oops, 5 hertz. Oh, is that the wrong, oh, not frequency, sorry, frequency of the filter, there we go. Boom, all right. So now, again, using the maps, because that's a crucial part of this technique in general, now the frequency of this filter is not gonna drop anywhere below like right about there. So I'm not gonna worry about scrubbing into the low end. There might be some times where this noise kind of like cuts out depending on some settings, but luckily I have a little bit of hack for that. We're gonna cover that in 2 seconds. Now I can go ahead and add, again, some fun stuff. I'm a big fan of Redux just in general, but especially on this kind of a noise. Just add that little like nice crackle. Let's go ahead and grab the rate of that. And since the rate of the Redux can go all the way to 40K, which is not really necessary for this particular technique, I'm gonna cap this. We'll make sure, see if I cap this under 20K, it's always gonna have a little bit of Redux, right? Which we want that nice little crackle. And now I can add maybe a little bit of a phaser as well. Let's grab the phaser and put it over here. I'm just gonna set that one and forget it. Oh, you wanna go in flanger mode? Both? All right. Okay. Oh boy, okay. Let's do a spectral resonator. How about that? Yeah, that's the good stuff. Let's grab a spectral res. And then there's one more thing that I'm a big fan of adding. Let's put the resonator before the Redux. Ooh, what do you know about mapping the frequency in a spectral resonator? And let's pull the dry wet back here so we get a little bit of both, the dry end and the wet. So this can kind of combine, and you gotta turn the unison up. If you're ever using the spectral resonator, which you should, be sure to turn that unison up and maybe like damp it a little bit.
Map the dry wet of the resonator into the low dry.
Oh my lord, okay. We're gonna run out of macros, but you know what, it's okay. And let's go ahead and just for the hell of it, because we have, so this is an important thing. If you're making textural noises, compression is gonna be almost a little bit more important, because with this big old bass noise, it's just like, go, right? But now I'm making this noise that is maybe a little bit too quiet at times. So if we just like kind of slam this compressor in a little bit, set that to peak mode, and just give ourselves a little bit of boost, we can make sure that we're always pretty crunchy. Oh yeah, totally. That's you know what? Yeah, so the device randomizer, good call. If we just pop this open, we can just turn the frequency of everything up a little bit. There we go. Now it's gonna be a little bit more fun. Oh yeah, good call. Let's set the minimum of the Redux to, where are you, my buddy? Let's set it to like 3 hertz. There we go. Ooh, that was a good squelch. I like that one. Right? Okay, one more effect, and then we're gonna start. God, I sound like me playing video games. I'm like, just one more hour. I can't hit pause, it's online, Mom, God. And I'm gonna grab echo, which is just my favoriteest of delays. Nothing too much to see here. I'm just gonna pop these out of sync and put them in time. And if I do run out of macros, it's fine. I'll just overlay them on whatever else. It doesn't really matter. All right, cool. Now, and maybe the dry wet as well. And again, who cares? It's all random here. Let's turn some reverb up as well. Not bad. For hitting one button, I feel like that's kind of okay. So now, here's where it kind of all comes together and is the final step in this like really awesome technique that I'm very much of a fan of, because now I have 2 noises that are just like, what is happening? And I get to just play around with them forever, but the problem with this technique is that sometimes a MIDI note's gonna hit and a filter is going to be way over here, and then some other setting is going to be over here, and then just between that and the other 15 settings you have, something might not click. Luckily, resampling is already something you should be doing. So we're just going to sample this over into the arrangement view, hit a little record over here and see what happens. Cool, that's all I really need. Now let's come back over here to the arrangement mode. Let me get out of my Finder. Neat. Back to arrangement. We'll just drag these out for 10 years. And it's neat. So the MIDI version of this is something that you can't recognize because you don't know what's going to happen any given moment, right? Well, luckily, Ableton has what I would consider like one of the greatest features of all time, and that's called freeze and flatten mode. And freeze and flatten mode allows you to do stuff like this. Hey, I'm just going to duplicate this 3 times. Don't mind me. We can turn this top one off. Side note about the device randomizer. Look, I've got like, I don't know, a couple of tracks, and yikes, 25%? Okay. So resample kind of becomes a necessary part of this process so your computer doesn't like turn its back on you and steal all your money at night or something like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and shift grab all of these suckers and hit freeze. And another bonus is that usually this will take some time, so if you want to go grab a coffee or just like go pet your cat, it's a great time to do that. Yeah, sneak in a couple dad jokes or just talk about JP's alpaca-looking sweater, which is just, it's nice, dude. It's real nice. I love that. But regardless, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to find the snippets that I truly like. Do I know what they're going to sound like? No. But am I going to have a good time scrubbing through all these little guys and just finding moments? Yeah, that's like the beauty of it, right? Because now I can just use technology to create, and like it just takes a lot of the work off of my plate, right? And side note, if you want to make a sample pack and like kind of cheat about it, this is a great way to do it. I've made like more than a few like vinyl scratch packs using like the squelch technique, and I literally, it takes me an hour to make like, I mean, the amount of samples you get is really based on how far you drag these clips out and how many times you duplicate them, and then how long does it take your computer to like process it, right? So I can just kind of do this all day and I just get more and more sounds. That's all it is. So we can go ahead and do this other cool synth as well. And then I just scrub, and that's all I do. I don't do this for every noise, right? I do it for the cool ones, the flashy ones. And any student of JP knows that when you're making music, you have to choose your like lead roles. You have to say like, okay, this guy is like, he's Leo DiCaprio in my session, and he's going to be the main voice of all time. Do I have like pads in the background? Yeah, you probably don't need to do this for your pads. Maybe like 1 or 2 little effects or something. If it's a very simple and straightforward noise, you're totally okay with like leaving it in MIDI or something, or just resampling at the end. But for the big ones, and if you want to be like a weird high-level producer that is like cutting corners but still getting the same level of sound, this technique is absolutely great. So now with all of these flattened, that was a great little monologue for the amount of time I had right there. And here's the thing. The reason I'm duplicating all of these and then turning all of this off, first of all, you want to turn them off to save some CPU. But also, if you ever decide for whatever reason that you want to go back to the MIDI, you can just leave it there, right? Just have it hang out. And now I can just scrub through these. Let's like I'm just solo this, and we'll just listen. I'll just find some parts. Side note, like you can probably see what the coolest parts are. Like, what is this little bugger? That's neat. Like, this is an amazing swell. Like, I could hear this being like the lead up to a drop. You could reverse it. What if I just hit Command E and just saw what this sounded like in reverse? And then maybe we could even try, oh boy, there we go. Right? It's 2 sides of the same coin. Let's like duplicate it. And now I'm just getting into like waxing, arrangement, view, poetics here. And you can like overlap them and maybe give it like a little bit of a crossfade or something like that. Whoops, you want to come over here, right? right? Use the arrangement and use the resampling tools available to you to like mix how you're using these. Because at the end of the day, when you have all of these parts harvested, you're gonna have too much. You're gonna have too much for a session, right? It's great. You have a bountiful harvest that is like technically infinitely as large as you could possibly ever make it. But now the final step of this technique is, hey, I need to take arrangement view methods and focus all of these sounds in a way that makes sense, right? So when I'm scrubbing, I'm using my ears, but I'm also using my eyes, which is like an undersung hero in a lot of parts of production, right? Have you ever heard of like the spectrum or something? We're looking as we're listening. So you can kind of just sort of tell what's probably gonna sound good. Like this is probably gonna be very usable because look at how large this particular chunk is. Let's take a listen. I'm calling in sick on Monday. That was pretty nasty. So then maybe I'll just be like, all right, at this particular moment, I'm just gonna choose this one. Like this one wins, right? And so maybe I'll pop open a little audio track at the top and I'll just take my choicest bits and be like, this is gonna be the main part, right? I really like this little chunk, so I'm gonna grab this and we're gonna pop it over here or something, and maybe a little breath of fresh air can happen right here. Or maybe a little, ooh, look at this guy, this looks cool. Let's have this just happen. We'll grab a little audio chunk of here and we'll put you just in this little moment, right? And now I'm also like just creating little moments that happen in the arrangement. Hopefully this sounds fairly neat. Let's just listen to this little section right here. And just without even listening to it, I'm very much hoping that this doesn't sound bad. It's gonna sound cool. All right. And then you know what? Let's just like bring this back and then we'll fuck with it a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead, we're in warp mode, and then we're gonna go to tones mode, and we're gonna turn the grain size up. I'm just gonna go ahead and stretch this out a little bit. Don't mind me. Just messing with warp features. And then we'll just have this come back. Bringing noises back in a different way is a really great way to evoke like both familiarity and like, oh, like have you ever like listened to a song and you're like, oh, and then 5 seconds later like, oh, but damn. Like that's what we're doing right here, right? Let's maybe fade this out. I'm just using arrangement view. I'm not touching effects anymore. All the effects are out of my hand, so I don't have to worry about, am I getting in the minutia of like every little knob? No, man, I have everything I need, right? It's in front of me. So now I just get to play with noise, which is, at the end of the day, isn't that what we're here to do? Now if I really wanted to get spicy, maybe I could now get a little bit more effects in, and I'm just gonna grab like an amplifier and maybe like a little bit of that flanger that JP seems to love so much. And now this can sound a little bit different, but guess what? The great part about this, and I think that a lot of producers will agree, we're using these parts, we're gonna get a different noise over here, but it all came from the same grandpa, right? We're all using the stems of like 3 or 4 tracks in each noise, which is really just one device. And I can get so many different noises that sound like they're all from different families, but they came from the same place, which on some level is gonna give each noise familiarity, right? So let's listen just real quick, I wanna listen to the difference, like, all right, that's like the prodigal son, and here's the like drunk uncle, right? So like they're similar, but different, right? And you can take this as far as you want to go, but ultimately, it's pretty easy to do all of this. What was that, like, 40 minutes, 50? I don't know. And there we go. Like that's all you have to do. And now I can just sit here with my like mug of coffee and play with noise, and I don't have to worry about effects anymore. So thank you guys. I hope this like helps really just put music out.
See if I got this thing turned on.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And if anyone wants the device randomizer, I have put in our Discord in like 3 of the wrong spots. So just look for device randomizer in our Discord and you will find it.
Yes. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Isn't he fun? Yeah. Mike, that was really, I love watching you work.
Thank you.
Yeah. That flanger, though.
Yeah.
You
The
gotta
duty
slow the
cycle
LFO
is
way
clutch.
down and crank the time way up.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
feedback
yeah.
it.
I gotta try that singing exact pitch feedback. That was
Ooh, yeah.
next level of business. Yeah, so here we are. I just want to remind everyone here at Slam Academy, we're a place that's full of just like great business for sound, if you can't tell already, and we're so honored to have you. So, if you walked in the past half hour, which I don't think. Zach, our studio.
We have one more presentation here in person. It's a new person who's just brand new to making music, so just take it easy on him. And then we're going to be pivoting to our remote presentations, which are all going to be awesome too. If you guys are familiar with Alden Groves, aka Evoke, or Vibe Squad, or Prismatic, these are all wicked, talented, and wonderful humans. They're excited to be presenting for you shortly. But I did indeed airdrop the sounds I made during my sound I made during my presentation to Valentine, and I believe Mike is going to do the same thing. Not to break your surprise, if that was a surprise, sorry. But yeah, I guess big ups to all y'all for being here. My name is JP. Hit me up if you have any questions about anything. And just so you guys know, you guys get a 24/7 access to this level of weirdness if you become a member at Slam. So if you're not one yet, what's wrong with you? Please join us. Our Discord server is constantly popping with fun stuff like this. So please let us welcome you to our community on a full-time level. And so yeah, without any more jibber jabbering from me, how you feeling over there, Valentine?
I'm feeling good. But where do I pull up both channels here or?
Yeah, just use this guy for your mains, and then you're coming through the aux.
Oh, we're feedbacking.
Yeah, can we?
Turn me down a little bit? Do I have to do this myself?
He's on the board. No,
Okay,
you're
nice.
good. Yep.
Okay, I'm sending out a saw wave. Don't mind these reminders popping up there. It'll say things like touch grass.
So this just the
Call
master
your
volume.
mom or
if
something.
you want the master volume.
Okay, cool. Okay, all right. I'm just gonna start. My name is Valentin. I go by Virtual Riot. I'm very happy to be here and super excited to be teaching the course called Advanced EDM Production or something like that. Yeah, which I just made up over the last couple of weeks, and I'm doing this for no other reason than that I want to. Because I am really excited about electronic music production, obviously, and I really enjoy talking about it, and it's very hard to shut me up, and I love teaching people, and my main goal is to just hear more great music from more people, and that way I feel like, yeah, that's the best way I can contribute to that, by just telling people how to do it. Mental health is another reason, so that I don't stay inside all day just working on my computer, staring at the laptop, but actually interacting with humans in the real world, so awesome. So it's like a win-win situation for me. So yeah, so that's why I'm doing that. Oh yeah, I was gonna go a little bit into that meta spiritual and like frequency vibe stuff as well, because I almost thought you were gonna go there, and then I thought you were gonna go there because you were so close by with the saw wave and going down in pitch. So I'm just gonna connect to that. So we have now learned that a saw wave pitched down all the way becomes a rhythm. And an interval like a fourth or a fifth, that sounds really nice, like there's a fifth and there's a fourth, two very pure intervals, as the people in classical music say, played at a very low speed, become like a very understandable rhythm. It's like 2 against 3 and 4 against 3, like da, ba, da, ba, ba, da, ba. So an interval that sounds really nice is pitched down a polyrhythm that is easily understandable. And here's the coolest bit. Has anyone seen Adam Neely on YouTube? Yeah, he did that video. A couple of people did that video where, like, so let's say you take the frequency of this sound, and it's like at, let's say we have a sound at 440 hertz. If you go up an octave, that's 880, so you always double your frequency. Eventually, if you keep doubling your frequencies, you're in the frequency spectrum of visible light, so you can allocate a color to every note on the piano. Actually, I think the piano, like an octave on the piano doesn't even span our whole visible light spectrum, but I think, I'm just going to arbitrarily say, it doesn't really matter what it is. I think an A is orange, and an E is like blue. So an A and an E are a fifth, so that's a very pure interval, and orange and blue are complementary colors. So intervals, yeah, intervals that sound good are colors that look good together, are rhythms that sound nice together. So it's all, yeah, it's all connected. Damn. But is that going to help you while you make music? I don't know, but it's a cool fact. I just always wanted a hardware synth that has a little LED in the corner that like glows in the color of the note you're playing. That'd be so cute. But I actually made a note on my phone to like what I wanted to go through real quick. While I have the saw wave here, the topic of effects as sound design and like not caring too much about your patch, I can just go into that real quick, because in my course we'll be talking a lot about effects, and we'll look at a bunch of plugins that are not Ableton stock plugins, and we'll do a lot of crazy shit with Ableton stock plugins. And in the music I make, which is like electronic bass music, dubstep, drum and bass, rhythm, all that heavy shit, a lot of the processing is really important and is crazy. So here's an example of turning a saw wave with just Ableton stock effects into a dubstep bass. So, and you can see what's going on in here. There's, I'm gonna open this up. It's a lot of effects. And in my course, I will explain this all, because this might take a long time right now. But yeah, and again, I've like assigned macros. There's like the we have randomized macros at home version is clicking this random knob up here, by the way. And then you can just record that and resample it. But yeah, no, I love randomized patches too, and I like the idea of having plugins that give you some sort of randomization options, even if it's something like melodic or something like getting a melody or an arpeggio or chords that you didn't think of yourself. Because I sometimes feel like if I write a melody that I had in my head, or an arpeggio or a chord progression, I don't get as much dopamine from the result as if a randomization sequence gave me the exact same thing. Just because I didn't come up with it, I feel like it gives me more dopamine and motivates me more to work on it, and I think it's better. It's like a weird psychological thing. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but yeah, exactly. Like if I know exactly how to make a sound in Serum, I go through the motions, I make it, it's there, and it's fine. But if I like if I leave that task to a randomization thing, then suddenly I'm like a lot more surprised by it, even if I would be able to make it. So some cool things for that are, this just came out. I'm just going to show this because it's like relevant. Synplan 2 just came out. Who got Synplan 2? 2 people. Nice, cool. So that's good, because that means the other people. Do anyone remember Synplan 1? The old one? Okay, yeah, this thing came out 17 years ago. How long? That's been around for a while, the old one. So it's really cute. It's like this little plant synthesizer where you can grow branches, and like growing the branches will like modulate your sound and morph it into like all kinds of random ways. And this was awesome back then already, but this just became so much more awesome with the power of AI. So these are your synth controls. This is like intentionally made very confusing. It's like a DNA strand, but in reality, it's just like, oh yeah, this slider on this DNA strand is actually just my filter frequency, and this is the cutoff. Like you can kind of see what is moving over here when I move it over there. So it's just a nice design. It looks very overwhelming. And then if you drag these out, yeah, sometimes this thing screams at you. You get like random changes of the sound, which is good times. That is also connected to your mod wheel, so you can play it, and it's fun. But the power of AI has just upgraded this instrument by a lot, so you can now import a sample, and it'll make a patch that sounds like the sample. it's not using the sample at all afterwards in the final result. It's just moving all these knobs to make the synth sound like the sample, and it's surprisingly good. It's pretty sick. Let's just like load in a synth sound that's like useful for this. Let's see what the hell, and what kind of folder am I in here even? So organized, yay. Let's just use a snare. No, I need like a synth node. What's in synth? These are like chords. I need like a... I guess let's just use this glass noise. So there's our sample in here, and then I can say, okay, make me a synth. And then these are 4 different variations, and I think it uses different approaches. Like it uses FM for this one, it focuses on the filter for the other one to recreate that sound. And I can like pick different results. Sometimes the first ones sound a little wonky, because sometimes they're cool. And then you can still go back into your patch here and edit that. Add like some cool reverb, more size, more chorus. Yay! So that's fun. If you use a vocal, let's put in a vocal sample, it can get very strange. And so that's where it starts to struggle, but it's interesting and it's fun. Let's go like shouts and Jesus. Let's use that. This is also AI, by the way. These are all vocal samples I made with AI. Like,
don't drum beats go like this. The thing goes like this.
There's like a voice AI trained on other samples from like old vinyls, sample collections, and then you type in words and you get samples like this. We'll get into all of that in the course, because otherwise it's going to be too much. Okay, let's just take Jesus. This might be very strange.
Jesus.
So there's a lot of modulation going on in the sample and a lot of different timbres. We could tell it to just use this bit. Just that, and then... Oh, that's kind of getting there. So yeah, you can throw in anything you want, and sometimes it'll get there, sometimes it won't, but it usually is always something very interesting. So that's an interesting thing to use randomization to get somewhere. Other plugins, even old stuff like Massive, has randomization, which is pretty fun, where you can, I'm gonna just open up good old Massive, and I hope, come on. I don't know. I swear I have it, and my native access is talking shit. I just have to, if I click activate, nothing happens, and it opens native access and it says it's activated. I don't know. So down here, we have randomize all, this little button here, and then you can say, okay, I want to randomize parameters, modulation depths, connections, or you can just modulate just the oscillators. You see if I click this, like all the knobs over there start turning, it selects different wavetables, but also it changes the pitch. So I'm just playing this note. Yes, where is it? Okay, I guess oh, there's the feedback. That's where that's coming from. That's why everything sounds the same. So that's all very dissonant and annoying. So I'm gonna make a new patch. You can say keep oscillator pitch. So now it's always gonna be that node. Obviously, sometimes all the amps are very down very far, or suddenly the feedback's all the way up, and then it jumps at you. So it is good to put a limiter after it, or maybe an OTT and then a limiter. So if it's too quiet, it gets loud. If it's too loud, it gets brought back down. But yeah, this can be fun. It doesn't automatically apply modulations, obviously, but if you open up a patch that has a lot of modulations going on, like, let's say this. I know these are all just macros, the yellow stuff, but it will exchange them and link them to LFO. And then... That's cool. Right. So I'll just hit this randomize button over and over, and every time something's cool, save the patch, and then make your own little library for, oh, once I'm like inspired to write something, okay, I got a couple of cool sounds. Or maybe I'll find a sound in here that will actually, well, be like, oh, this melody with this sound sounds kind of nice, and then that's how I'm gonna start a song. Or if I just don't feel inspired, doesn't matter, keep making some cool songs, save them. Once you have an idea for a melody, you already made some cool sounds. So I like to compartmentalize my workflow a little bit like that. Also, because I travel a lot, so I'm on airplanes, and mixing something, for example, on airplanes, on headphones is not really a thing. So I'll be like, okay, now I'll just make a bunch of kick drums and snares, or make a couple of sounds, or do this. And then once I land or I'm back home, I'm like, okay, now I can actually work and write and focus on like mixing details. And so that's kind of cool. So I encourage everyone to make your own like private little sound library. May it be presets, samples, or saving your effect racks and instrument chains for future use, just so you like build your, okay, like this is my sound kind of library, which can even be samples from the Splice, the Skynet of music production, where if it's like, okay, yeah, I always use this sample in reverse as like a fade into my drop, which apparently in dubstep is a thing with like, Barely Alive does it and I do it, where it's just like a little tag signature sample. It doesn't have to be something that you've made, it's just like how you use it in context can be part of your signature sound, I guess. Okay, now I just got this over here from earlier because I just wanted to see if I can do anything with this. And there was like a cool sound at the end here. That's kind of cool. So I kind of like that note. So I was going to put that in a simpler and see if I can make a dubstep bass out of this and add drums super quick. So we've actually done something too. So that's cool. Loop you. Give you some fades on the ends.
Valentin, can you brighten up the interface a little bit on your screen? So do a little of this stuff.
Oh.
Go to that look and feel tab.
Yeah.
Turn up the brightness some.
Oh, sure.
Just because the projector is what I'm able to see.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this isn't really, isn't doing that much.
Just the top one, the little drop down there,
Oh.
change it to, oh.
Ha!
That's polar, there you go.
Mid-late, maybe mid-late. There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I have it on like this dark skin because I like work in a dimly lit room, and then like it doesn't want to hurt my eyes. So I'm like, oh my god. No, good idea. I actually like how if we loop like a little bit of a sample like this, and it's not like we don't loop like a one wave cycle where we turn this into an oscillator, but it's something like this where it's like a short clip. You can kind of hear the like the loop of it. If you pitch it up, you get this, like it gets faster and slower depending on your pitch, and that gives you this kind of drum and bass Reese effect. So this is kind of cool, and what I would usually do is mess around with saturation. Obviously, either OTT or multiband compression is like the softer version of it. A cool thing that a lot of dubstep producers use to create very loud noises and loud bass noises is using a filter to first take away a lot of the sound with like a very tight bandpass, and then adding like 3 OTTs afterwards to bring it back up again. So yeah, this filter isn't perfect. There's still like, even though it says, oh, it's cutting everything off about 1K, there's still something there, and all the 3 OTTs bring it up. 3 is the magical number, by the way. After that, there's no change to the sound anymore. And interestingly, since now, like this sound doesn't have anything happening in the high end, but we can introduce something happening in the high end by putting in, maybe putting the distortion after this. And if we now do this, there should be like some weird crunch happening. Yeah. Suddenly it's getting crispy. And other plugins as well have like, there's like, how do you say it? There's like aliasing artifacts in certain plugins from built-in modulation. Like if I use something like Corpus or the frequency shifter, I think by itself, I'm gonna turn the Corpus off. I think by itself, does the frequency shifter do something if I put it on like 50%? Not yet, change the sound a bit, but let's use the modulation in here just a tiny bit. And, ooh, suddenly it's like a bit crusher has been added. So this is from the internal modulation happening in here, creating weird aliasing bit crush artifacts that the 3 OTTs bring up again. And the corpus is a method of getting the same thing, just a little more controlled, because you can sort of change the pitch of that sound. And make you... like the speed of that modulation in here will determine the pitch of that crunch. And that's kind of how the Skrillex Scary Monsters and Nice Brides Growl was made. So, cool, yeah. Let's get rid of this. Actually, can I bring back that frequency shifter? Because it sounded kind of cool when it was on 50%. Again, yeah, this is just my workflow, putting random stuff on it and then just seeing what happens. Like, a lot of exploration in this is very playful, and that's what I like about sound design. Like, at times I was wondering, what would it sound like if we put like 30 choruses on just one sound? So I did it, and I have it right here. I present you the hyperchorus. So this was inspired by an Andrew Huang video where he took like 100 delays in Ableton and went through the stock effects on all of them together just to see what it would sound like. So what I have built here, and you can actually build this for any stock plugin, this first macro turns them all on, one after another, up until, I don't know, 23 choruses, and then all the other macros remote control the same parameter on each of them. So you just need these macros to control all the choruses together. And original sound is the saw wave, and then this thing. Yay, Transformers! Cool stuff. I've yet to try it with a phaser or a flanger. That could sound cool too. But yeah, anything sounds like that when you put it through. It doesn't matter what you put into this, it will always sound like this. So it's kind of an instrument itself at that point. Like, even though you've only been using effects, you've made an instrument out of effects. So I think that's kind of cool. Lastly, on the topic of racks, because they're awesome, has anyone used Soothe? This like, yeah, Soothe, you know what Soothe is? Yeah. I'm just going to load up a normal bass patch so we have a sound with a little bit of motion so we can actually see what's going to happen here. Yeah. Fun. So I've made Soothe with Ableton stock. So this is like Soothe at home, basically. So this is just to show the crazy things you can do inside Ableton with the stock devices, almost using, like, just connecting different things and parameters and having things react to other things, kind of like in a modular system, which I think is really cool, and that's why I like Ableton so much, and I also like modular systems. So we have this EQ here, and as you can see, it is dynamically reacting to the volume of the incoming audio. Based on how loud the frequencies are in these certain areas. So it's like a dynamically reacting EQ. I can do a super quick explanation. There are all these different channels that take, like this path here, for example, takes the volume of the incoming sound around 1 kilohertz, and then there's an envelope follower. And if the envelope follower goes up, the EQ at 1K goes down accordingly. And then this power knob is basically the overall strength of all of them. Cool thing is, since it's an EQ, you can change the Q of the points, and the envelope followers all have attack and decay, so that is basically your compressor attack and release. So yay. It's not very fun for your CPU. It's like, but it works, and it's not $180 or something. I don't know how much to this, something like that. Yeah, it's cool though. I use it sometimes. I think it's great for taking like frequencies out of chords when you have a vocal singing, because you can sidechain with it. We'll do all of that in the course as well. All the things that I say, if you're like, oh, I wish I knew more about that. Yes, we will talk about that in the course. I'm just getting a little bit into everything. Oh yeah. So just making a bunch of these racks yourself as well while you work makes it easier sometimes to write a song real quick, because I don't like if I get stuck. Like I might work on a sound for a while, and then that sound inspires an idea, and then I write this intro and this build-up or something, and then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, now here's another sound that's going to require a lot of work, and suddenly this writing process is interrupted by a sound design process, and then that might take the wind out of my sails, or I just get super focused on this one thing instead of like, oh, in the last hour I've made like this much progress on this song, and now I've spent 3 hours on this one sound and haven't made anything else. So it can be really good. That's why I encourage everyone to have this like library of your own sounds, or even Kill the Noise does this. Use sample packs for certain really complicated sounds that you might want to do yourself afterwards. Oh, thank you very much. That was me, sorry. Nice. Oh, thanks. Oh, why did you cancel? You closed your laptop. Oh, okay. Yeah, like Kill the Noise, for example, uses dubstep packs from Splice to build a drop, the general pattern and the idea of the riff, and then goes back once that idea is there and replaces the sounds and makes them all himself. So there are many different ways of where you don't have to get stuck in a sound design process and sacrifice your writing energy for it. Yeah. So we will explore all these different ways of approaching the creative process. If anyone's read that Rick Rubin book, it's pretty good. Okay, that came out recently. I'll be quoting that a lot because I really like it. I think it's good. It's got some good things in there. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, we made this thing. So the low end on this, let's just see. This is a little rumbly and a little chaotic, and I don't know if it's like, I might want to replace that with a pure sine wave. So in this case, we can actually just, to have it both in the same thing, I'm going to group this entire thing, that sampler with the effects, and then here I'm just going to drop in another serum. And let's see what frequency we're even at. Kind of sounds like a little too high. So I got to bring this up to that frequency real quick. All right, bring them to the same octave-ish, so I can have one MIDI playing everything together. I think +1, you're gonna be fine. No, one more, so +24. And then we're just gonna have a sine wave here. And oh yeah. Should probably not put that on the whole sound, but only on this. Nice. Now we got a clean sub under our sound. Many times in like cases like this, if I want a very specific modulation, ooh, that sounds cool. I might just, what note? No, there we are. Oh, that's where that's coming from. Kind of sounds like the first note of Throwing Elbows. So this is another lesson, like another topic. One of the lessons will be about arrangement in drops in terms of like patterns, riffs, and also in melodies, where I like to look at either a call and response, or I kind of see it as like, it's almost like a binary pattern where you have like, okay, riff A, and then like maybe part B, and then you repeat A again, and then it's time to repeat B, but you might want to do a little variation there. So you've got like A, B, A, C, and then you go A, B, A, D in terms of variation. So we'll look into that, or like, yeah, how to work with repetition and when to use variation, especially in genres like, I don't know, bass house, dubstep, drum and bass, and stuff. Can I get the files? I need a squelch. I need an offbeat squelch, like, right there, please. In the meantime, I will get drums. I've heard that so I can also recommend, this is just something I've done. I don't like how the samples you download from Splice arrive in like all these massive sample pack folders, and I don't like using the app. I by hand sorted my favorites into a new folder structure, which is a bitch, but it's great once you've done it. So if you're ever bored and or you're on a flight and can't even work on music because you forgot your headphones, sort your samples. It's like tidying up your room. I know it's awful, but it can be worth a lot. Yay! Thank you. That's squelch. Oh yeah. Oh, that sounded a bit wet. Nice, let's put that in here. Sounds like dolphins, actually. Ooh. That's cool. That's the one, I think. Okay, put you on an audio track like right in here. And then I'm just gonna... Maybe we can even have these little two clicks here. So if it's like kick, have them on like the last two 16th notes or something. I think this is maybe have you here so it's a little shuffled. So it should be, and then have some pitch modulation, filter modulation here, I mean. And bing. So at this is like the point in sound design where I would want to be a little more precise and have like filter movement exactly how I want it. So I would just go in here and draw this stuff myself. Let's just take a kick and a snare real quick. Good old decap drums. Always works. My favorite closed hi-hat, Janet. Where is she? There. Janet. People been pointing it out on my songs, like, oh, he's using the Janet hi-hat again. Like, come on. Can't knock a good hat. It's just, okay. Oh yeah, another topic for another one of those, one of the lessons was going to be project templates and how to like make stuff easily accessible. Like you see here, I have it's very basic. There's drums, bass, synth, samples, and then everything runs into a sidechain audio track except for the drums. The cymbals do though. So I'm not really limiting myself here. There's a serum and a massive open, and then a sampler down here, and then under samples is just 3 empty audio tracks. The kick and snare is a drum rack that's empty. The cymbals is a drum rack that's empty. That's all. So it's like a clean slate, but I have some stuff there already. The most important bit is here actually that I have the sidechain track down here, and there's a MIDI trigger track. There's a shaper box on here. And by having my kick and snare separate from the rest of my cymbals, I was lazy. Yes, I put the head into the kick and snare, I know. I can just copy the MIDI onto my trigger track and then say, okay, everything that's on a C is going to trigger the sidechain. So now this is already sidechain applied. Great. So that speeds up the workflow a bit. And I'm just going to edit this real quick to make a little riff. Actually, yeah, something like that. And now we need some movement in there. Maybe up. I'm just gonna. Yeah. Nice, fun. We have some more room for another fill here, so I'm just going to see if there's anything else here that we can. I'm just going to pitch this up and see what happens. Not much. This was juicy. It's definitely dolphins. It actually sounds kind of cool under, just like having this top end, having this underneath the bass, maybe taking off some low end, so it adds like some crispy noise, why not? That kind of works. If you want that in an even stronger way, you can use erosion, obviously, in Ableton to add some crispy. it kind of gives the illusion of it being distorted, even though it's just adding white noise on top of the sound based on the input volume. And there are some better third-party effects as well that do the same thing. Texture by Devious Machines is awesome, where you can select all kinds of different noises. You can import your own samples, and then you see this this like curve here, and then the gate at what percentage, at what volume the noise is supposed to come in. And then you can filter that noise. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. How much time do I have left? I'm just getting lost in this.
We're enjoying this.
Nice. Okay, cool. I also have like, this is for example a sample pack I've been working on. I've been just using this in the writing process, like some of the drum loops to get like an idea out really quick, but then later on replace that as well. We're at like 150 BPM, so I would take something like, what's this? I would just like, if I didn't want to spend time making a complex drum loop while working on this, I would just pull this in and have it do that. Fun. Yeah. What else? This is already, I feel like we've already covered a lot. Let me see if I forgot anything. This is why I write stuff down, because my brain is like a pinball machine. Or my brain is like a ball in a pinball machine. Oh yeah, everyone's showed like a song or something. I can show you something I've been working on recently. I got a little bit into drum and bass again because I was listening to Subfocus and K9 at Lost Lands, and that was awesome. And I was like, I want to make some drum and bass. And I use this Z vocal for this, so this is something I can also recommend to help with writing something more song-like. Like I feel like with EDM, if your song is not just like a DJ tool, but also like an actual song, that's always like, I enjoy that a lot more. I like the heavy DJ tools that are just like 16-bar, just drums, intro, and then whatever. Those are cool too. But I like taking vocals and then writing new chords to them, and then just deleting the vocal, and then you can even have someone else sing over it and have it be your own song. So that is fun. And there are some amazing tools by now to get vocals out of songs as well, which I don't know how like copyright fine that is, but you can always just use them for vocal chops. And I think usually no one can tell, it should be fine. So just putting it out there. This is some drum and bass thing I made a couple of days ago. Let me just see if this is all set up well. We can look at the project file real quick. I just use Ozone 9 for mastering, but I think there might be something happening in here where, did I do it in this one? I usually like to, the limiter in here turns off on the drop, and then there's this gain match on, so it just boosts the output by 6 decibels, and it's like clipping at +8 or something, but it still sounds good. And you will learn how to do that too in my course. Yay. Okay, I'm just gonna play this and... No, that vocal is not supposed to be on there. I did some stuff on this.
Breathing you in, I want you out.
We're missing some delays here, these boys.
Waving your heart like a stolen dream. We'll run where lights won't chase us. Hide where love can't save us. I will never let you go.
There's like this
We'll run
shaper box trance gate on the reverb for this little vocal bit.
love can't save us. I will never let you go.
And we got this delay. Keeps going on All right, and that's kind of where it's at right now. But yeah, maybe well, maybe it's going to be a remix, maybe I find a new vocal or something for this. But this kind of drum and bass is pretty easy to make. I have to admit, I do, for this kind of stuff, I shamelessly use Nexus for layering. It's like the main, it's just the main Serum sound, and then we've got 2 Nexuses, Nexi. And by now you can actually, like, we will also go over that, like finding plugins with good presets and effects with good presets for your, if you're more into like a songwriting vibe rather than a sound design vibe, and which plugins are kind of good for that. Nexus by now has a lot of ways of editing your sound actually, and there's also VPS Avenger, which is like Nexus on crack. But yeah, cool. I don't know how to finish this up. But I hope you learned something, and I hope you're excited for the course as much as I am, so yay!
Thanks a lot, Val.
Yay!
That was really fun to have you here and to listen
Thanks for having me.
ramble about beautiful techniques. It was super.
So yeah, I guess this is my opportunity to get my mic turned back on. This is back on. Hi. Yeah, super. Thanks. So yeah, guys, I gotta tell you, Val, we're so excited to have you in the squad over here, right? I think I'm not the only one. I've had so many people reach out to Slam and be like, so they just recorded a class and sent you a video, right? And I'm like, no, actually, they're gonna be here in the flesh and you should join us. If you guys are curious about that course in particular, the in-person one is totally full, surprise, surprise. But we will be running it it's a 12-week course, and if all goes, as long as Val stays cool, we'll be running it again. So if you're interested in taking that class, 12 weeks will go by really quick.
I'm probably gonna move.
I think we need to make sure that that happens somehow, so. I thought you were buying a house? Oh,
Address is 1 Squirrel Lane. It's right next to 1 Chipmunk Lane. I know.
no way.
I know the address shouldn't be the reason why you get a
Thank you. Thank you. I got it, that's cool. Cool, so yeah, Squirrel Lane, now we all know where to find him. Yeah, but I just wanted to basically check in with everyone. Yeah, now you gotta find a new house, you just outed yourself. He was just kidding, it's everyone on the stream, not Squirrel Lane. Yeah, but yeah, this is great to have you guys here. I just got to remind everyone, and actually next week, the week after next is when all of our courses start. There's flyers all around. We have our bass music program starting again. We have, of course, Valentine's course in the online version. There are available seats. It'd be great to have you in that. We also have we're kicking off our vocal production course again, as well with Alden Groves, who will be presenting very shortly. He's one of our remote presenters. He lives out in New York, but ran our Denver campus for a while and was just like a wonderful contributor to Slam, as are the next 2 presenters along with Evoke. We'll be having Vibe Squad from Denver. If you haven't checked out his music, he's amazing. He'll be presenting in just a couple minutes. And then also Prismatic will be our final presenter for the night, and he makes heavy dubstep stuff. So if you're into that kind of music, which you probably are, thank you for being a part of our community and checking out these upcoming streams. And then for those of you who are here in person, definitely stick around because we'll be watching the live stream on the projector, pending any technical challenges. And yeah, I guess if anyone wants to get a hold of me or has any questions about Slam, you can find me on our Discord, of course. Otherwise, just call the general phone number on our Slam website and it rings in my pocket like all the time. So, but yeah, I'll be happy to chat with you about that. But you can also find me, jp@slamacademy.com is my email address, and that's totally kosher. So yeah, without much more to do about that, I guess if our stream team is ready, we'll probably kick off our presentation by Vibe Squad. But before we do that, we're gonna check out one of his brand new music videos he just finished producing over the past couple of weeks, I believe. But he has a whole new album that's just been released that's really amazing. So we're gonna watch a music video on the projector, and then we're gonna check out a presentation by Vibe Squad. Vibe Squad is our mixing and mastering instructor. So for those of you who are already making tracks, but you wanna make them as like loud and clear as they can possibly be, our online mixing and mastering program is wicked, and Vibe Squad teaches that. We also have a Minneapolis version of that class that is instructed by superstar producer Bionic. He produced Lizzo's first record and does a whole bunch of other even more amazing stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, that mixing and mastering course is going to be wicked. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have any questions for me before we kick this off? Okay. If you're out there in the chat, please spam it with hard emojis or whatever, isn't that what they say, kids? But yeah, I mean, let's see. Are we ready to present that thing, guys? The music video and stuff? Cool. I'm just going to turn this up over here and let's try it out. I had a feeling this was going to happen. Hold tight, folks. There's no signal coming in from the back. Talk amongst yourselves. This is the ambient intro. This is super minimal. You'll hear it in like 3 days. We have 4 studios in this facility. Yeah, you should check out the Studio B, the modular sync. It's wicked. What's that? How's the what? How's my day? My day is going great. I'm just totally inspired by all the stuff that's happening at Slam right now. And I'm excited about all of our fall programs that are starting soon because tons of people are signing up. It's been great. Let's start the video over, eh? Thanks for your patience, y'all. I don't know, mic line, but it still wasn't coming through in the beginning, so can you mute me? Let's do it.
Hi. My name is Aaron Holstein. I make music called Vibe Squad, amongst other things. And I teach the mixing and mastering course for Slam Academy. Upcoming term is on Monday nights. I'm going to talk a little bit about a new album that I just finished, which is coming out on October 10th. It's a 10-track Vibe Squad album, and I thought, because it's fresh in my mind right now, that I would discuss what I learned from making this album. This is my 10th full-length Vibe Squad album. I've made a bunch of smaller releases as well, EPs that were anything between 3 and 6 or 7 songs end up being called EPs pretty much. And most of my albums are 10 songs or more. A few of them are much more, like 15 or 16 songs. And the album process is always really more, it expands, put it that way. It just kind of keeps going and keeps going. And as I get toward the end of the process, I've got a bunch of tunes, and they're all almost done, like in the 99% done range, in terms of mixing, mastering. I'm working on artwork and making sure I've got the track titles, and the organization becomes really important. That's, the end of the process, and it becomes pretty intense. I've done it so many times that I kind of block out that part of the process. I forget how intense it can be. Sometimes it can just be awful the last week of just trying to squeeze that last percent out of the quality factor in so many different levels. The sound, the arrangement. I might hear something at the very last minute that just is bothering me, and the way that I work is mostly 100% solo. So I do all the writing by myself. And then by writing, it usually means I'll start songs one at a time, using different methods of starting. And I'll discuss a little bit about how I do that after I summarize the process. But there's the starting of the tunes, and then there's a process where certain tunes will graduate to, oh, this is really good, I like this, or I love this, or oh, wow, this is, I got something here. And sometimes that feeling doesn't last. Sometimes that, I'll work on that tune, and for whatever reason, that feeling diminishes. And so, for instance, on this album, I started with a pool of 15 songs. So I worked on individual songs for quite a while. A few of these were ones that I found from a few years back that I refurbished and finished and, threw away parts and kind of made the parts that were working better and made them all feel contemporary to me, modern, in what I'm doing now. So they belonged on the album. So anyway, I put together a folder of 15 songs that I was at the point where they were fleshed out in arrangements, 3 to 5 minutes each. Some of them needed something or other, and I had a bunch of notes. Needs melody, put a vocal on this one, or maybe try a different bass sound, whatever, all in a notebook. So I'm keeping a paper notebook alongside, and as I'm listening, working on tunes, I'm just keeping this single page that covers all 15 songs that are all contenders. They're all candidates for the album. And at first I thought 15 is a good number. That's going to be great. I got these tunes, might as well put them all out together. And so I was working on all 15 kind of simultaneously at some point in the process. That is another intense point in an album making process is, it's one thing to open up a tune and spend an hour on it. But if you're going to put that kind of energy into all the material on the album, that would equate to 15 hours of just opening it up and spending an hour on each tune. And that's what I did, just over and over. So it took a really long time to get to the place where I felt like all 15 tunes were at a spot where I would allow someone else to hear them. A few of them I was performing out during my Vibe Squad sets live already. Couple of them I had released on SoundCloud in early versions, longer versions, totally different kind of mix down and mastering process. So I took a couple of those songs because I'd only put them out on SoundCloud, and I kind of often look at my SoundCloud as a place to put out music and not worry about it. Like if I write something during the day and I like it and I just want some feedback or just feel like I want to put it up, I'll just put it up on SoundCloud. And I differentiate that from releasing records that or albums or EPs or whatever, singles that I'm more focused on properly releasing them. I aim toward releasing that on Bandcamp and all of the streaming services out there, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and then all of the other smaller streaming companies that you can send your music to through distributors like DistroKid or TuneCore. I happen to be a member of both of those services for different reasons. Over the years, I've put out tons of different albums, not just as Vibe Squad, but I have another down-tempo, lo-fi, boom bap project called Backpacked, Backpact. A few albums under that name, and I've put those out on DistroKid, and then a lot of the Vibe Squad stuff's been on TuneCore, and there's different reasons why I go back and forth, but it was for a while TuneCore was much more expensive. They would bill per album per year, and I would always be hit with an annual update bill for that album to keep it on all the services. So I moved to DistroKid, where their model's more like you pay up front for a membership, and you can put up as much content as you want. So you pay for a one artist subscription, or like I did, a label subscription where I'm able to put up 5 different artist names. And so that way it could encompass the Backpacked project, some Vibe Squad stuff, and then I've got Aaron Holstein, which is I've put out numerous albums under my own name, and put out an ambient record with my friend Doug Zimmerman, and that one's called Holstein and Zimmerman. So these are all under my own label, which I call Hardy Records. And so I've split it on those 2 different distributors. My most recent record, I'm back to trying TuneCore again. because they changed their subscription model, and there were some things about the website that I just wanted to try doing a release now. It's been quite a while on that platform for me. So anyway, as a solo artist who I pretty much do everything for myself except for booking shows. I have a booking agent, Submission in Denver. My booking agent's name is Jackson Huffline, and we work to book shows, but he was the first person I sent all 15 songs to listen and be my first, feedback beyond the couple that I played at shows and the couple that I had demoed on SoundCloud. Some of them were totally unheard by anyone other than myself. And got some feedback. So that's always a process. You build up something, you get attached to it, and then you share it a little bit around. I strongly suggest that you gather a network, a community that you're comfortable sharing music with before you release it, especially if you're learning about production and you're in a growth stage in your musical evolution in terms of what you're doing. The feedback can be really helpful. Now, don't let people discourage you. So sometimes you need to go outside your initial circle to get the kind of feedback that you really is constructive while you're writing, while you're making an album. I don't want everybody to chime in. I don't want to change anything to treat, someone else's opinion more important than mine in the creative part of the record making process. Like, I really emphasize trusting your own taste and intuition for knowing whether it's going right or wrong. If you love the way something sounds and feels, more importantly, how it feels, you're going in the right direction, in my opinion. If one of the tunes is starting to really bug you, maybe that's a sign that it doesn't hang with the rest of the material as well, and maybe it won't make the cut. So I played my initial 15 for my agent and booking agent, and he gave me some feedback. He liked these songs better than these songs, which always helps me understand, put things into perspective. And sometimes it confirms what I thought, and sometimes it's a surprise. The song that I ignore is the favorite, and the one I think is the best one isn't on the list, or sometimes that can happen. So anyway, I felt right away that there were two of the songs that could be cut, that didn't hang with the rest, that were getting on my nerves. That's really the most important observation. That on repeat listen, I was sick of them. I didn't feel like they had any special powers. I really like each song that I put out to be unique, have some feelings attached to it, and be something that I can hear over and over and still enjoy myself. So that's always a sign, is if I'm getting sick of something and I'm not even to the mixing and mastering portion, deep into the end portion yet, then those songs should probably get cut. And no album has to be 15 songs, And I think realistically, if we want to talk about albums and the modern listener and the way that modern music is marketed and the way that people's attention spans are quick and there's so much music, there's something like 60,000 new tracks every day on Spotify or something ridiculous like that. So, just having lots of songs isn't necessarily an accomplishment if they're not all to the caliber degree of, the rest of them or the best that you can put out. So I'm a strong believer that, there's a difference, a big difference between good and great. And you're shooting for great, your greatest. Let other people judge it on their own. Of course, people will have all kinds of, ideas about how they feel about it, but you need to feel that what you're putting out is your great work. So, 2 songs I cut right away from that first sharing. And what I did, I got very organized. I figured that was an important move, considering that maybe by my own nature, I'm a little disorganized. Like, I like experimenting when I start writing a song, trying stuff, just kind of throwing all kinds of things on the project. And sometimes it gets messy and I don't name everything and I don't put things in folders or whatever. But I think that's very important. So at this point, I got very organized and I made a spreadsheet with all of the songs and some notes about what state they were in terms of, 0 through 10, 10 being finished, and what I needed to do for each one. And I had a spot on the spreadsheet where I could drag songs that weren't going to make the album down below for a maybe, kind of to sit in timeout, maybe land at the bottom of the spreadsheet. This was a document I shared with my agent so that I felt accountable, so we could talk and he knows what the names of the songs were. I put some info in there like keys and tempos and stuff, just so there was a lot to discuss, or we'd be able to know which song he was referring to. Because a lot of my music's instrumental, so it gets hard on a phone call to go, oh yeah, the one that goes or whatever. So to have a lot of descriptive language in a spreadsheet and the names and all the stuff and what version number I was on helped keep the thing very organized. And that was very organized for me. I don't think I'd done that before to that degree with like a spreadsheet and everything. But it was great because I could see the project coming together and it gave me a bird's eye view of what I had to do in terms of work. And it wasn't all just scribbled into my notebook, but it was an easy thing to rearrange on the screen using a spreadsheet. I then got to work going through every song and putting in what I would consider like another stage of work. So cleaning up arrangement things, making sure there was melody and kind of what I like to call like the crystallization of the tunes. I don't think in terms of pop hooks, I don't necessarily, but I want to have something very crystallized about each song. Electronic music can be like, some of the songs are pretty minimal in terms of how much changes and melody and things are going on, but all of the parts are very deliberate and each part is full size. So that takes a certain kind of editing hat, if you will, that I would wear that's different than the hat I was wearing when I started to create from scratch, where it was like Play-Doh and paints and put on like a,
smock like kindergarten and just make a bunch of mess out of my workspace, and then I start to organize and clean it up. And the things that make the cut, in terms of become real songs, I keep going with that process, cleaning, improving, and adding hooks. And if there is a little bit of a hook, and what I mean by a hook, like, an electronic tune or a dance floor tune, or the kind of tunes I make or whatever are, something you can really remember, sink your teeth into, and something that's very musically phrased and that's worth repeating and that it's worth hearing again, So I would ask myself if each one of these songs had that as I went through and put a couple more hours into each one, improving the mix as I go. So my intention was always to write, mix, and master myself. So I don't wait to mix at the end of the project. I mix as I go. And I like to do that so that I can tell how it's going to sound. So there are no surprises. I don't want to find out later that that's a terrible sounding snare. I want to put it to work right away, turn it up, to a size that it'll be later in the project, work with that. So I'm mixing as I go, and at this point in the process, I'm deep in mixing, but I'm still allowing myself to make a lot of arrangement adjustments and an occasional new part. Much less new.
Oh, oops. Yeah, so it looks like we had a little technical difficulties on that one. So, whoops. So, by the way, guys, I want you to know I'm so honored to have Vibe Squad in our staff, and he is a wonderful mixing and mastering engineer and a really great teacher, and people just love his class. And he does a really great job at showing off all of his techniques. And sorry, we had a little accidental interruption on that stream. His class is online, yep. So Vibe Squad teaches our online mixing and mastering course, and it's coming up on Monday nights starting in a couple weeks. And he does a great job. As you can see, he's put out like 10 albums now as Vibe Squad, and he's wonderful. But I also cannot resist my excitement for the upcoming presentations that we're going to show right now. Alden Groves, aka Evoke, is one of our top instructors at SLAM and does a wonderful job. He makes incredible music and teaches our vocal production class as well as our Ableton Live class. So if you're out there on the stream and you're listening to us right now, thank you for being here. Sorry for the hang up with the previous presentation, but we are excited to show off some of the amazing techniques. The next two presentations are going to be dense with advanced music making tips. This is a sound art workshop, and so we are here to show off our favorite tips and tricks for creating incredible sounding music. So that's why we're fast tracking this next presentation and getting Evoke Alden Groves up next. And then following that will be Prismatic from Denver. So if you're on the stream or if you happen to still be here in person, thanks for being here. And I think we should probably kick off the Evoke piece. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna listen to a new track by Evoke, Alden Groves, and I'm really excited for you all to hear it because it's amazing. It's called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And we're gonna listen to that, and then we're gonna see how Alden makes music, especially with vocal processing and advanced Ableton-eering. So I'm James Patrick, and so if you're out there on the stream watching this, thanks for being here, especially you in person, thanks for being here. And I guess if we're ready in the back, let's go ahead and hit play on Alden Groves' latest track.
Try to put it in the past, move on. Make a man out of myself, move on. But my life is such a drag, RuPaul. And I'm the monkey in the middle, Wukong. So I wrestle with the world, kayfabe. Money got me going nuts, payday. But I'm back up on the horse, hey. So it's all kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Try to run it like a business, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. You don't wanna miss this, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Try to run it like a business, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. You don't wanna miss this. I'm running on empty, no sleep, so I never go out. I'm becoming like an engine, am I gonna blow up? I've been putting in work, ceaseless. No rest for the wicked, sleepless. Still treading that water, deep in. But I gotta go harder, I need this. Count money by the pound, weight gain. It's about to go down, Mayday. I'm the best in class, straight A's. So it's all kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Try to run it like a business, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. You don't wanna miss this, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Try to run it like a business, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. You don't wanna miss this. I'm running on empty, no sleep, so I never go out. I'm becoming like an engine, am I gonna blow up? And I don't wanna hear it, call me Van Gogh. We are cut from the same cloth like Exacto. I will start another revolution, call me Castro. With the Green New Deal, cash flow. You wanna make a difference with the same, bitching for a discount. Sick of paying layaway, sick of slim pickings in the prison on the day-to-day. No more click, clicking, only bang, bang. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. Try to reckon with the system, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. This is anarchy, get the spray paint. Bang, bang. I'm living a resistance, day, day. Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. You don't wanna miss this.
Hello Slammers, my name is Alden Groves. I am the online Ableton Live production instructor as well as the vocal production instructor, and I wanted to bring some of that energy to you in this lovely workshop. So without further ado, let's get started. For this little workshop, I put together something that I ended up being super happy with, definitely going to turn it into a full song. I want us to just listen to that so we can have a sense of where we're starting from. I'm on Vogue, I'm putting up a front, yeah. Looking out for yourself, yeah. I know that you wanna make a name. You did it to yourself, yeah. I know that it's all insane. I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know I'm insane, but that's home. I'm in vogue, I'm in vogue, I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know I'm insane, but that's home. I'm in vogue, I'm in vogue. Okay, so you can hear it's not sounding bad. It's pretty good. I've already thrown kind of a vocal effect chain on here that I would teach you all about in the vocal production class. Don't mean to plug that too much, but here we are. So it's sounding pretty good. You can see I've got my verse section, I've got my chorus section labeled. I'm processing these a little bit differently, but to me, the chorus section could definitely sound bigger. There's not like a huge change. Let me solo the vocal here, overall. Yeah. I know that it's all insane. I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know. I want the chorus to feel bigger. And the number one trick that I think most people that aren't vocal producers don't especially know about is doubling. I think that people don't know kind of like best practices for this. So just to kind of give a sense of how this works and how much of a difference it makes, I'm gonna duplicate the chorus vocals here, move those down here. So let's take a listen to this real quick. I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change. I'm gonna group this up. We'll call this little group backing vocals or backing vox. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off all of these sends. That, just so you're aware, is all of these. These are all the different reverbs, delays, etc. that I'm using to process this vocal. We just chatted about this most recent week in the vocal production class. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna double up
all of these thingies. Let me kick on the auto tune here. Just kind of gives this a little bit better sense of what it's going to sound like in the mix. Not every vocalist likes singing with auto tune on their monitoring, but I do. So what we're going to do, we'll call this BG Vox 1, duplicate that, BG Vox 2. I'm going to make these all a different color so we can kind of navigate our way around. Want to make sure that our backing vocals are in the vocal group, which right now they're not, so that's cool. So now we've got our lead vocal, ignoring the ad-libs for now. We want to thicken up this vocal. I think the first place that people gravitate towards is adding harmonies, which is not a bad idea, but we don't even need to do that necessarily to thicken up this vocal. So I'm going to take one of these backing vocals, I'm going to pan it all the way to the left, another one pan it all the way to the right, and we're just going to do some takes to match up with this lead take. Let me turn on my audio interface here. We can make sure, check. Yep, that's running. I'm not going to leave the monitoring on because right now I'm monitoring through my audio interface. So you could monitor on the actual track itself, but not necessary to do that. Delete the automation on these. For now, I might turn off the big reverb and the big delay. The deal basically is that we're going to try to match this other take as well as we can. If you have a vocalist that you're working with, basically say, will you do more takes that are, in terms of the melody, in terms of the performance, as close to identical as possible? And you might say, why don't I just duplicate the take? Great question. It's sort of like if you've used Ableton Drift, the drift parameter changes a bunch of small things like filter cutoff, pitch, tone, all of these different things drive to thicken up a sound. The reason that works, especially with double tracking, and why you couldn't do it with just like a pitch effect or something like that, which you can do, but it'll give you a different effect. You'll get kind of some phasey kind of quality to it, which I personally don't tend to love. There's all sorts of things that are going to be different about this performance, even if I'm doing my very, very best to match the other performance identically. The distance from my mouth to the mic is not going to be identical. I might move just a little bit while I'm singing. I'm going to try to prevent that, but I might. My mouth is going to be different levels of open or closed than it was when I was recording the original take. Obviously, I recorded this yesterday, so my voice might not be as open, or it might be more open. Let's do it.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know I'm insane, but that's...
Okay, cool. Let's just hear that real quick.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
So you can hear.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Cool. So not bad. I'm definitely going to be a little bit less meticulous about this than I would be if I were producing the actual vocal, just because obviously I don't want to make y'all sit through me doing like 48 takes, and I don't think that sounds bad. So let's do the exact same thing again.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Let's see how that sounds.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Cool. So immediately sounding a lot thicker, right? Like let's listen, we'll do a quick A-B, listening to the vocal.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
You can see as soon as I kick that in, the vocal sounds huge in a way that doesn't even really sound like an effect. It's sort of just like, oh, that vocal sounds bigger now. So we're gonna be a little bit excessive here and do the exact same thing again twice. So we're gonna have two of them that are panned all the way to the left. You're gonna be tempted to do like, oh, well, maybe I don't wanna do all the way to the left. Maybe I'll do like 30. Trust me, hard pan, completely different left and right. You will thank me later. Let's do the same thing.
I'm insane.
Oops, forgot the beat there. Same thing again.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Same thing again.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Cool. So we might spend just a little bit of time lining these up, cutting out silences, all that good stuff. The best way to do this, and one of the reasons it's really nice to group your backing vocals together, is because you can use the group control here to do fades. Like there's going to be a little bit of room noise. This is an untreated room, and in general, you know, there's going to be mouth noises, breaths, whatever in between these takes. That's just the nature of the beast. Especially in backing vocals, we don't need that stuff. So let's go through here. You can click and drag on the actual group lane here, and we'll just do Command X. hold over this, Command Option F, go over here, Command X, Command Option F. I'm doing Command X not because it's like better than hitting delete, but just because I like to have my right hand completely freed up for the mouse. So we're just gonna go through here, cut out some of these breaths. This also helps, like you can see, especially if I turn this one up for a second, you can see that the end of this take is right here, whereas this one,
And I won't change, and I know.
you can see these don't quite line up.
I won't change, and I know.
And I could, you know, if I wanted to, I could grab this silence, delete this extra stuff, and then if I hold Shift and drag from the end, I can warp it into place a little bit. Let's see how that sounds.
Change, and I know.
Not quite, a little bit too much.
Change, and I know.
Much better. We'll grab this entire section now, Command Option F, fade that in. Grab just a little bit of a fade in here, and then we'll grab this whole section, do a fade out. So let's hear how that sounds now.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
You can hear this one's still a little fussy. Same trick again, make sure that we're on complex mode. That's gonna sound much better on vocals.
It's in vogue, I won't change, and I know. It's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
In general, I actually think the G is too loud, so let's...
I won't vogue, I won't change,
Perfect.
and I know.
If we want to align these a little better, we can use this lead take as a guide. These are pretty quiet in the recording. I'm not 1,000,000% sure why that is. I think my preamp is just, yeah, it's just not turned up as much as I had it before. I'm gonna leave it as is just for consistency's sake. But you can see if we turn these up, let's say 10 decibels, we can see now where they don't line up. Another great hack is Command Option Shift. That lets us kind of drag these. Now that we've separated them out, we can go line by line.
I'm insane, it's in vogue.
And you can see it's much easier to, you can see almost all of my takes here are early. So let's grab all of them, Command Option Shift, drag them over just a little
It's
bit.
in vogue, I won't change.
Let's see how these can do. We'll maybe drag these a little bit forward, other
I
problem.
won't change, and I know.
This left take, that G is just way too much. So we're gonna grab it, Command E to separate it out, turn that down, fade it over.
Vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Still a little too much.
Change, and I know. Change, and I know. And I know. Change, and I know. I'm insane, but that's home. I'm in vogue, I'm in vogue.
Cool. You could spend a lot more time on that, but we are not going to in this moment. So again, let's just do a quick A-B. We can hear what the vocal sounded like before when I took these backing vocals off.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
And then here's with.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
And that's with the backing vocals really cranked up. Obviously, I think right now these are actually going to be louder than the lead. Let's see.
I'm insane.
You can see the average volume is right here around like -18, whereas the lead vocal,
Insane, it's in vogue.
it's a little bit closer to like -12. So we're not louder than the lead vocal, but we're definitely getting there. Let's see.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know. I'm insane, but that's home.
We're gonna roll with this. I'm gonna kick this down. A lot of people don't know every time you change something by 6 decibels, you are doubling or halving its volume. So let's do -6. We'll cut that in half.
I'm insane, it's in vogue.
Maybe
I
-9.
won't change, and I know.
Let's do -8.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
We could be a little bit more aggressive about pitch correcting if we had more time, but we're already halfway through. So let's keep rolling. I could do all the rest of this, but I'm not gonna. Let's make a group within a group. You can see subgrouping is really your bestest friend here. And we'll call this one doubles. Cool. So now we've got our vocal group. Within that, we have our lead vocals, which I've included the ad-libs here in that.
And I know. I'm insane, but that's home.
Am I getting a little bit of popping here? Let's up that buffer size just a little bit, especially since we're not monitoring through Ableton. There's a great reason, by the way, to get an audio interface that allows real-time monitoring. Something like a UAD Apollo, even though they run a little bit pricey, it makes recording vocals way easier. So now we got our doubles group. Let's duplicate the entire group. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's rename this and call this like octave up. I'm insane. Cool, I can't hit that.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
No. Maybe we'll do, just because that's hard to hit, maybe we'll do no.
I won't change, and I know.
Cool. I think that little bit of harmonization
And I know.
will add a little bit of sauce to it instead of being a problem. By the way, I was just recording in, but if you want to punch in and out, you can obviously use these punch in and out things. I've done this enough and for long enough that I will still use the punch out, but in that moment I chose not to. Let's do the same thing.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
Cool. We can drag out from there, because even though we only had the punch in right here, it was recording the whole time. That's why I didn't start over. We'll set the punch into the whole thing.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
Cool. Same thing again.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
Cool. So now we have even more of these doubles.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know. I'm insane.
And you can see every time you add something new, again, just a reminder, let's do an A-B. Here's before.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
Here's after.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know. I'm insane.
Cool. Let's make this one just a slightly different color. I'm so particular about my track colors. I don't know if any of y'all are like this too, but I'll right click, assign track color to clips. Now we're in this spot.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
We'll do the exact same thing. I prefer this to linking clips. Like obviously we could go through, linking tracks. We could go through and link all of these tracks, and that makes it so that anytime you do something to one, it does it to all of them. The trouble is, let's say I want to go in and like edit one particular, like if I'm like, oh, this one's a little late, I can't do that. So for me, I always leave them unlinked and instead use the actual group here. Because in that lane, you can basically treat them like linked tracks. And, you know, do your fades, do your cuts, do whatever. But then if in a moment you're like, actually, I want to adjust this one over a little bit, or this one, you can go still in detail per track. I already know those G's are going to be around.
Won't change, and I know.
Those are going to be too loud. Let's fade them right at the end. Maybe like that.
And I know.
Yeah, we'll leave them. Cool, again, that's the Command X and then Command Option F. So let's listen to where we're at.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
Cool. So we can process the backing vocals as a whole here, which is a nice little trick. One thing that's important in general is if you think about if something is further away from you, and this is just psychoacoustics, it's going to have a little bit less high end and a little bit less low end. So let's scoop out this low end. We're going to use a soft curve low pass just because vocals are a little bit more sensitive to really electronic, hard, like steep shelf processing. So let's see.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change.
Cool. So we scooped out some of that low end. Instead of low passing, I'm going to do a high shelf.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
Cool.
I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know. I'm insane, it's in vogue. I won't change.
You see here the really big difference in clarity there, especially because if you're thinking about mid-side processing, right? If we listen to just the sides, we want to take some of that like woofy low end out of the side channel. And obviously we could do that with mid-side processing, but in this case, it's just as good to, especially because these are all, if you remember, every single track, every single one of these takes is hard panned. So any processing that we do basically to the whole thing is affecting especially the side channel, because hard panning things gives them a lot more width, as you might expect. So
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
So let's just do one last little thing here. Maybe we'll do glue compressor. I'm gonna solo these backing vocals.
I'm insane.
We're gonna bring the threshold down until we start to see a little bit of compression. Again, with vocals, be more delicate, especially if you're used to working with really electronic sounds. You're gonna be tempted to like throw an OTT or something on like this. It's not gonna sound good. So be a little bit more delicate with your processing. Just checking time. We are right on track. Beautiful.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Good stuff, good stuff. We'll do a fast release so that the detail in the vocals is coming through.
I'm insane, it's in vogue.
And then kind of a slower, glue compressor doesn't go that slow with the attack speed anyway, so
I'm insane, it's in vogue.
I'm gonna need to adjust the threshold.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
And it looks like we're getting about 5 decibels of gain reduction. So to make up for that, let's add, let's say 4 here.
I'm insane, it's in vogue.
That's bringing back some of the slow end, so let's be a little bit more aggressive.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Cool. So we'll A-B that. Here's before.
I'm insane,
Here's after.
I'm insane.
Bring that back just a little bit to, instead of matching the gain reduction, let's just match the perceived volume, right?
I'm insane, I'm insane.
Cool. So now we got that compression. That's just like, again, gluing all of these tracks together. We could take it a little bit parallel if we wanted to make sure we're not losing any of those transients. That can make it feel a little bit more natural. You could also use the internal side chain. You could say, okay, I don't want it to respond to the S's as much. So you could target the sibilant frequencies, which is usually somewhere around 6K. Actually, you want the opposite of that.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change.
So you can see, without that EQ,
I'm insane,
it would sound.
I'm insane.
The S's come through a little bit more. So if we do this, we can make the compressor, without actually side chaining to an external source, we can make the compressor respond a little bit less to those S sounds, which is gonna make it feel a little bit less like it's pumping.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Beautiful. Last thing I want to do, right now we've got the send processing on the individual tracks, which is fine. Let's do it for these backing vocals. Let's do it on the group though, just to make it a little easier on ourselves. So reverbs and delays should be treated like instruments, not effects. You can see on every single one of these, I've got a fair bit of effects chain happening. This is why one of the reasons I don't just run them in line, meaning like I don't just throw them on here. I always run them as sends. We can talk about, if you're interested in learning more about these effect chains, vocal processing class is good for this. I truly do not have time to get into it in this moment. But let's blend in these backing vocals. The way I like to do this is you solo each one of these one at a time, because you'll hear the lead vocals already blended in as they are. So we can hear now, okay, this is what our like little room ambience sounds like, so let's blend. Cool. I actually like cranking the doubles into that a little bit more than the original track. Let's see if I feel the same way about the big reverb. Not quite so much. And then we got our little slapback delay. Cool, so let's listen to all these together.
I'm insane, it's in vogue, I won't change, and I know.
Cool, so let's hear the grand total of everything that we did there. So here is before.
I'm insane, say it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
And then here's after.
Say I've been say it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know. I've been say, but that's home.
Cool. I might even back off this a little bit more if it were going in the actual song.
I've been say it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know.
Cool. So that is all I really have time to cover today. I would love to spend more time on it. Obviously, vocal production is its own rabbit hole. There's a lot to learn, a lot that I would love to share with you if you want to take my vocal production class. If you are watching this live, just know that the next one, it's an 8-week class, starts this coming Tuesday. So on this coming Tuesday, feel free to sign up for that. Make sure to reserve your seat in the class. It's been a popular class, so it's been filling up. The other thing I want to mention, again, if you're watching this on Saturday, whatever that particular day would be, I guess that would be the 7th, then tomorrow I am hosting a masterclass and doing the Amplify Artist Unleashed workshop, which is basically artist development for those of you that are wanting like a comprehensive look at potentially a career or just wanting to see what is the next step for me as an artist. We're going to be learning about mid-side processing. We're going to go beyond, I think most people either think of just using a utility to turn up the width or using, you know, an EQ in mid-side mode to kind of adjust this stuff in the sides. That's all well and good, but we're going to dig a lot deeper. We're going to see how it affects distortion. We're going to see the uses for mastering. We're going to learn how to use something like a width check here, so we could see, like, just as an example, you can see when I turn off the backing vocals, the stuff in the sides just kind of disappears. The vocal is not present in that. And then when I kick it on, you can hear the vocal suddenly has so much presence in the sides and here, and the effect of that is that really huge width that you're hearing.
I've been say it's in vogue. I won't change, and I know. I've been say.
Cool. Bada bing, bada boom. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentations, unless this is the last one, in which case, thank you for enjoying the rest of the presentations. Come see me in the vocal production class, or come to my lab on Thursdays and say, hey, bye.
Bye. Yeah, that's Alden. Alden is wonderful, and his production techniques are great. For those of you who are still here hanging with us, thanks to all the presenters who have shown off so far their tricks. We have one more coming up, but I wanted to mention really quick to reiterate to SLAM members that on Sunday nights, once a month, we have a new, it's kind of like a new iteration of our original thing we called the Producer Club, which is kind of a deep dive into all the different cool creative aspects and points of interest for somebody who's really looking to elevate their overall music production and music career. So it's going to be hosted by a kind of rotating ensemble of our top instructors, but the first one is this coming Sunday night, pardon me. And you can check it out on our Discord for all SLAM members, including community level members, which is our new membership we just kicked off. That's only $100 a month. So please consider checking that out. And the channel is just called Amplify Artist Unleashed, right? You can find that on our Discord anytime. So I'm going to keep this ball rolling, though. For our final presentation, we're going to be doing we're getting back into bass music territory with our beloved Denver instructor, Prismatic. So if you don't know him already, we are going to listen to one of his tunes quick, and then we are going to check out some of his favorite dubstep techniques. So I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and hit play on that. And thanks to everyone for being here and hanging out with us during the workshop.
Dude, Prismatic here, and I gotta say, big things happening behind the scenes right now. Just major moves happening. I can't tell you all about it right now, but hang tight, because the biggest news of my career is about to be announced. Big things coming soon. Major moves happening. things coming soon. Major moves happening. Big things coming soon. Dude, the response to my last post has just been overwhelming. Just super, super cool. But what if I told you I had one more announcement to make? Because these moves, they just don't stop, you know? We're just gonna keep going, so make sure you stay tuned. Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned, tuned. Big things coming soon. Major moves happening. Big things coming soon. Dude, big thanks to everyone who came out last night. Make sure you pre-save my new track on Spotify. Peace.
Hey everyone, Prismatic here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And you're in luck because today I'm going to show you a few of my favorite sound design techniques. Just a few. If you want to learn more, consider taking my 8-week bass music course starting October 17th, 2023. We'll be going over some sound design. Primarily, though, we're going to be focusing on songwriting. You know, how to put together a dubstep song from start to finish and all the various sections and, you know, finer details that go into doing such a thing. But there will be some sound design, you know, that we will go over. And I think there's a few things I want to show you guys today. The first one that I want to show you is how to use a bass sound one-shot as a wavetable in Serum. Also Vital. A little more complicated to do in Serum, but this is a sound design technique that I've been using for a long time. I think it's really fun. I think it's a great way to kind of like take sounds from a sample pack but use them in an original and interesting way. Lots of cool things you can do, you know, with a bass sound one-shot imported into Serum. So in order to do this, you need a bass sound one-shot, of course. And I have this one right here, which is just a simple growl bass. It's pretty chunky. I would say I prefer to use sounds that have some nice mid-end and low-end. I've found if you use noisier sounds, it doesn't work as well, at least not for me. But I think this is a good sound to use for this technique. So let's start off with Serum. So I got a Serum right here. Let's open it up. Now this sound is in D sharp. Usually if it's from a sample pack, it will say, you know, D sharp on it. Or there's obviously more sounds that are in a different key besides D sharp. It'll usually have the root note of the key that it's in, right? Or the note that it's playing. So this sound is a D sharp, which is the same as E flat, if you want to get all technical and music theory about it. So what you want to do is go to your pencil icon. Real quick before I move on, if you're unsure what the key of sound is, take any synth like a saw wave. So here's Serum playing a saw wave. And you just play it alongside the sound and it should harmonize. See, that layers pretty nicely. If I play like an F, for example, it sounds dissonant or discordant or whatever. So that's a good way to tell what the note of sound is if you are unsure. You might need to kind of train your ear and practice a little bit, but generally speaking, that's kind of how I determine if I'm unsure. So let's open Serum back up. So picking up where we left off, let's click the pencil icon, aka I guess this is the wavetable editor. So we click that, and you see this right here. We're going to go down to this bar called Enter Formula, and we're going to type in D#, not at, D#, 0, number 0. We're going to hit Enter. Now what this does is that it key tracks your sound, So it, aligns with your MIDI keyboard correctly. Now if you click back here, if we just, missed a step, we got to actually drag this in. Make sure you drag the sound into this part. Do not drag it over here. It's not going to sound right. So now that we have the key inputted, you want to do that before you drag the sample in. So we're going to drag this in and we're going to let go. Now if we just go back over here and mess around with the wavetable editor, it sounds what I call steppy, where it's not a smooth transition. It kind of cuts through the different tables. So it's like, We don't want that. So what we want to do to make it smooth is that we're going to go to Morph, right? We're going to hit Crossfade. Now, before we go back, we want to also go into Process and hit X-Fade Edges. Now, if we go back here, we have a smooth transition when we move the wavetail position. Nice and smooth. Now you can go back here. There's a lot of different functionality and things you can do in this section. You can add or remove, morph. You can mess around with the different morph options. Spectral's cool. Process, lots of different options. Normalize is cool. Let's go ahead and do that. Single. Truthfully, haven't really messed with this too much. This, I think, are different shapes that you can input. And you can also go up here and you can change like the height of these. I'm not really going to do that because I want the sound to be as fairly unaltered as possible. You also conveniently have an undo button over here. So we go back over here. And we've got a nice wavetable that we can use in our synth. And as you can see, it's fairly like full sounding. Lots of good tones throughout this, which is one of the main reasons I picked this sample. Good way to illustrate. Lots of little sweet spots. Let's go ahead and make a little sound with it. So if we click right here, let's go ahead and change the tempo to. I've been messing around with 142 lately. I don't know. It's kind of got something to it. So let's. So we added an LFO onto here. We dragged it, and for this course, for the sake of, or should I say, this class presentation, whatever you want to call this, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through and explain every single function and nuance of Serum. I'm also probably not going to do that in my class, so if you want a Serum tutorial, it's not really the place. But, we will be going over how to make stuff with Serum, and I'm happy to answer questions. I'm totally happy to answer questions. Not anti-question. I just, if you're completely, it might be worthwhile to kind of take a little time and learn the synth a little bit. But anyways, so we got this going on. Let's turn on trigger. Trigger means it's going to re-trigger every time I hit a new note. Sounds pretty cool. Let's turn random off, because if you have random on, every time you re-trigger the note, it's going to sound different. So make sure that's off. Distortion. Little compressor, multiband. Maybe let's mess around with the phaser a little bit. We'll turn the depth all the way off. That makes it static. We'll do... If you hit Shift and Alt, you can make it go just one direction instead of both. Okay, now let's go into here. I've been digging the asymmetrical. I like to put this on the level. Might have to tweak it a little bit. I think for this sound, I'm not going to do that. Nah. See, I'm kind of getting into it. I get in this trance sometimes when I mess around with sound design. I don't know what it is. You can also do like different shapes. So kind of like... There we go. That's got some cool. Doing some stuff with the detune is cool. Maybe add a little filter, a little reverb filter. And one more cool thing you can do. But this is all from a bass sound one shot, you know, and it's got kind of a uniqueness to it because I used a bass sound sample that I generated. Yeah, so cool bass sound one shot. I'm gonna save that. Save that later. So you can actually do the same thing in Vital, but it's a little different. So we got a Vital right here, and if for those of you that don't know what Vital is, it is a free synth from Vital Audio, I think. Just go to their website. I think you have to create an account, download it, and you are good to go. I think you can pay $80 to get early access updates, some more wavetables, other functionalities and things. But it's free and it's a powerful synth, and I've been using it a lot, kind of alongside with Serum. So to import a wavetable, all you do, it's actually kind of easier, I would say. All you have to do is just drag your sound and put it into wavetable. Then you go to the wavetable editor over here, and in window size, you're actually going to put D#1. A friend of mine told me to do this. I kind of forget the reason why, but I've just been doing it, and it's totally cool. I think over here you have, oh, cool, you can scroll through the sound. Oh. Interesting. Oh, that's the position. Cool. Learning something new every day. You actually have some different options here for editing it, and I think you can draw these in, just kind of like in Serum. It's pretty cool. So we go over here. I don't know if Vital just kind of has a cleaner algorithm for these kind of things, but you don't really have to do much. It just sounds, clean and seamless. So let's make another cool sound with this. So let's drag this over here. Same principle. You got trigger modes. This you have to mess with the frame. Turn some compression on. Maybe we can have this kind of like ramping up in reverb, maybe. Opposite. cool. Anyways, let's add some. You can also go over here and hit phase style and hit vocode. Cool. Let's add a filter to this. I like using the EQ for kind of like talking stuff. I feel like it sounds better. This filter is kind of confusing because you have to have selected like what you want, and you have to kind of turn it on. And okay, so it lights up when it's on. So light up means on, but in order to affect one, you have to go to each of these. It's a little confusing and a little counterintuitive at first. What was it? Spectral. Interesting. Let me try this. Maybe we can turn this on And maybe we can have a second one going. That could be kind of cool. Kind of give it like a growly kind of undertone layer to it. I like this random... Oh, make sure you turn the phase off. But yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool sound. I'm going to save that one too. So, again, cool ways to use the bass sound one shot in Vital and in Serum. Now, another cool use of this is what I like to call the sampler technique. I feel like this technique is better when it's like stabby. So let's go ahead and duplicate this bass sound, right? I feel like this technique in sampler, I'm going to take like a stab kind of sound, and if you loop it over and over again, you can get some really crazy rhythms and tones with it. So let's consolidate this by hitting Command J. That way it just becomes its own self-contained unit. So we're going to drag this in, and we're going to set the root note to D sharp 3. That means, much like with the other synths, it key tracks it. Let's turn it to like 6. Maybe 10. Now, if we hit sustain mode and bring this back a little bit, then yeah. This could be like a really cool sound to layer over top of like a bass, like a sub bass or like a sustain bass or something like that. See what reverse does. Let's snap it. Cool, you can tune it. What does scale do? Can't really tell. It looks like you can swap the sample out. You can adjust the start time. I like to have it a little bit before the looper kind of takes place because it kind of creates like a cool, like almost pitch envelope sort of sound. And if you hit different notes, unfortunately it's going to have different rhythms, which I think is kind of cool. And unfortunately, there really isn't like a pitch bend wheel with sampler, Kind of wish there was. But like, for example, if you go into envelopes, that's it. I know what I'm doing. First of all, we go to the sampler, right? And you go to pitch. Yeah, there we go, MIDI. And you have the range be like 12 maybe. So you can do some cool stuff like this. Pretty cool stuff. Let's see what happens when we change the note. A lot of cool applications for this kind of sound, but these are all kind of different ways you can make a bass sound one-shot with Serum. And, well, I should say these are not just Serum, but these are all the different ways you can use a bass sound one-shot as kind of like a wavetable / sound design tool. And then there's like the processing and stuff. I actually really like this sound a lot. That's pretty cool. That's sick. Let's save these. So if in case you don't know how to save a Vital sound, you go to the drop-down menu, Save Preset. We're going to call this BA Slam Rhythm. Let's say the style is the bass. Author, Prismatic. And then we'll call this Serum Preset. No, let's not hit init preset. All you have to do is hit the floppy disk. We're going to call this BA Slam Rhythm Serum. Cool. I've noticed if you save your sampler sounds, it doesn't quite save correctly. Now, one thing I kind of wanted to show you, like, one technique I really like to do with the sampler is I have this sound saved right here. I call it Muerte Stab. This one right here. It's based off the artist Muerte. Here's what it sounds like. Kind of loud. I like that tone a lot. So what we're going to do here is render this out. Let's turn that on. And we'll freeze and flatten that because we want it to be audio. Flatten. Get rid of that. Little fade. Consolidate. Let's get another Serum. Or sampler, I should say. I've actually used this technique a lot, and it's created some really interesting tonalities. I did it in my mechanized remix for RageBot. So we'll drag this in, and we'll have the key, same thing. So if we hit that, drag that back. That's a pretty cool sound. I've used this sound a lot. Sounds really good under a sustained bass kind of sound. So And also, too, you can, drag, like, any audio file into any synth, or Serum or Viola, I should say. It can be a vocal. It can be really anything. It doesn't really matter. I just feel like I like to stick to tonal stuff. You know what I mean? I just feel like it works out the best. You know what I mean? Now, I kind of want to take this time to mess around with some of like the wavetable settings, because we saved this, so we can always go back to it if we mess it up, you know what I mean? But maybe let's mess around with some of these settings. You also have these down here. Squarify. There's one called Squarify. Here we go. Let's see what that does. I kind of messed it up, but that's what happens when you mess around. So we have to go down to user, BA Slam Rhythm. I like this Ableton kind of preset called Compressed Room Reverb. It's really nice. I've been using this other plugin called Rift a lot. Kind of got like a barky dog kind of. Should put it before. It's really like mean sounding. Disperser is another good. Awesome. Heck yeah. Cool. Well, that kind of concludes my brief sound design tutorial. If you'd like to know more, again, I will be teaching an 8-week bass music class with Slam Academy starting October 17th. 6 p.m. Central Time. Will go on for 3 hours. Would really enjoy it if you all could be there. I've taught this class several times. I have lots of teaching experience. Been teaching with Slam for a while. Also teach one-on-one lessons. I have releases on some of the biggest labels in the dubstep scene. Subsidia, Disciple Roundtable, Monster Cat, Wakan. And yeah, would really enjoy teaching you. Follow me on @PrismaticTunes on all socials. I'm playing some shows pretty soon. I'm playing, well, I feel like some of the shows that I might be playing will be over by the time this video is done, but just check out my socials for updates on shows and other things related to Prismatic. Anyways, bye guys.
Check, check. Hey, everyone out there. You know, people still surviving after that brutal beatdown. Big ups to Prismatic for that presentation. That was really fun. definitely endless possibilities when you're getting into making intense, insane sounds like that using Serum or any of those wavetables. So thanks for the tricks to Prismatic. Also, I got to thank everyone else who's been here enjoying the stream with us, and my friends in person. Definitely got to thank Mike Rat, Virtual Riot, Evoke, aka Alden Groves, and also, of course, Vibe Squad. So thanks to everyone for being here. I got to just remind you, if you're out there in the stream, to make sure to check out slamacademy.com. We are always here. We hope to be firing up our streams more often. So I'm not sure which camera is on right now, which one I should be looking at, but doesn't matter. Hi, I'm just here to hopefully be able to serve you guys, anyone looking to learn more about music production. We've been around for 12 years, and our crew is excited to help you level up your music production game. So look us up, slamacademy.com. Stay tuned on our Twitch channel for more live streams coming soon. And also, please consider checking out our membership programs. You can become a part of our community for $100 a month and take advantage of all these great resources we put together. So big ups to all you out there in the world. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I guess without further ado, thanks for everything, world. Yep. Appreciate you all. Have a great one.
Crowd applause.
Ah!